Hey guys! Okay, so today's video is going to be a little bit of a mix. So I wanted to try out this Ellen Tracy makeup brush cleaner that I got from TJ Maxx. I want to see how well it works compared to the Ulta makeup cleaner that I use, and you can see I used almost all of it. So if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to link it down below. But I also wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about raising a bilingual child. As I have told you guys in one of my early videos, I am married to a Hispanic and he is Mexican, and so him and his family all speak Spanish. And whenever we go to his parents' house, they all speak Spanish, and I'm in the process of learning how to speak Spanish, but I wanted to teach Matteo how to speak Spanish. And since George works out of town a lot recently, it's been a bit of a struggle for me, since I'm still in the process of learning, to help teach Matteo. So I just have a couple of little things that have helped me along the way that I wanted to share with you guys. But first, let's go ahead and get started, because I wanted to try cleaning my makeup brush with this little palette cleanser as well. So I'm gonna wash my makeup brushes while I talk to you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, I've got a lot of makeup brushes to clean. So we're gonna go ahead and get started because it's gonna be a minute. So first, I just run hot water, and wait, once it gets warm, I'll go ahead and rinse the makeup cleanser. Oh, that did not take long. I'm gonna rinse the cleanser palette under the warm water. Now that it's nice and wet, I'm gonna go ahead and spray some of this makeup brush cleaner on it and just coat it really well. You can, let's see, can you see it? And then just start with brush. Rinse the brush under the water. Just run it under here, and as you can see, the makeup is coming off pretty easily. This makes life so much easier, so much better than doing it like trying to rinse the brushes on your hands. This is really easy, and you can really make sure that it's clean, because you can see when all the makeup stops coming off, whereas your hand is a little more difficult. Then I just tap it on the side of the sink to get the excess water off, and then I just make sure that it's back in its normal shape, and I lay it on the towel to dry. So that's what I'm going to be doing as I talk to you guys. Turn that water down a little bit, just make sure you guys can hear me. So I took Spanish in high school for 2 years, and I felt like I learned a good bit of Spanish until I went to George's house, and I suddenly realized that I knew hardly any Spanish, and I felt really out of the loop, because I had no idea what everybody was talking about. We've been together going on 5 years now, so I've learned a lot just from being around everybody speaking Spanish all the time. And then for Christmas this year, my in-laws got me the Rosetta Stone in Spanish, so I have the app on my phone. I do work with that, and I do like it a lot. Honestly, what has helped me learn Spanish, what has helped me learn the most Spanish the fastest, if that makes sense, is learning Spanish with Matteo. So there is a YouTube channel called Super Simple in Espanol, and all it is, it's called Super Simple because it's Super Simple kids songs, basically. Super Simple has a channel in English and a channel in Spanish. So all you have to do is go to watch the channel in English, and then go find the channel in Spanish, and you can literally have an exact translation of each song. And most of the songs are just like your average kid songs, so like I already knew most of them, which is really awesome, because then it's like, oh, okay, well, I know what I'm saying because I already know the tune and I know everything, so I just have to learn the exact words, and then I'll be able to figure out what they mean. So it's really not super difficult, and that has helped me out a lot. And helping teach Matteo is helping me teach me as well, because while I'm teaching him and I'm trying, I try to repeat everything that I say in English in Spanish. So I'll say, come here, Matteo, and then I'll say, ven, Matteo, and just other simple things, like I'll say, do you want to eat? ¿Quieres comer? And it just helps me learn along the way, and it helps me practice my Spanish too. Since George is gone out of town for work, I don't really have anyone at my house to speak Spanish with. So speaking Spanish to Matteo helps me keep up and make sure that I'm not like losing my Spanish, if that makes any sense. Like, it helps me keep up practicing it. It's just super helpful. And another thing, I probably ask my in-laws about 20 times every time I go to their house, how do you say this in Spanish? How do you say that in Spanish? I try to be in a constant state of learning. That way I don't ever feel comfortable, you know, because you can always learn more. There's always more you can learn. And just a little tip for those of you who are trying to learn Spanish and are using Rosetta Stone or using a textbook, they teach you the exact words for everything. They don't teach you the slang. So sometimes I'll say things and my in-laws or George will look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, what? And like, that's not how you say that. And I'm like, oh, well, that's what I learned in Rosetta Stone, or that's what I remember learning in high school. And they're like, no, this is what we say. This is the slang term for it. And I'm like, huh, interesting. Well, good to know, because I was going to walk around using the appropriate term for it, and people were just going to stare at me like I was, you know, some uppity little white girl who couldn't speak Spanish. That's just another little tip. And another thing that really helps me is I have bought a lot of bilingual books. So, like, you know how they have the first 100 words for baby books? Well, they have those in Spanish too. Some of them you have to order off Amazon, but a lot of bookstores carry them. And I've even seen Bye Bye Baby has some bilingual books. And so being able to see the word and read it to Matteo out loud. Obviously, the baby books are super simple. Like, I can, even if I don't know the exact word, I can pretty much figure out what it's saying based on the illustrations. So it's just like really easy, and it helps me. It's just another way that helps me learn, and it helps me teach Matteo. So I really like those. You are looking for some easy ways to help teach yourself another language. Those are just a few. YouTube videos, kids songs, kids books, bilingual books. And the bilingual books are really awesome because they have it in English and in Spanish. So like one of Matteo's books, it's a picture book, and then it just has the word above it because it's for babies. So for instance, it'll have a picture of an apple. And above the apple, it'll say apple, and below it, it'll say manzana, which is apple in Spanish. So that's really easy because it's literally like vocabulary list for me, basically. And most of the stuff I already know. Like, I know all the colors, I know most fruits, I know animals, I know a lot of nouns. The hardest thing for me, what I have to work on the most, is verbs. I know months, days of the week, things like that. Things that like you would learn in kindergarten, basically, I know, except verbs. Verbs is the hardest thing for me. And it's not so much the verb, like I know the verbs, it's the conjugation of the verbs that's so hard. In English, we conjugate our verbs, but you don't really, like, I grew up speaking English, so it wasn't very hard for me. I'm sure when I was a kid in school it was, but, you know, as an adult, it's obviously not hard for me to conjugate my verbs. But learning another language, now that I'm older and all I know is English, it's pretty difficult, and it's definitely like a test for me. But it's really fun. Like, I would say if you want to learn another language to help teach your child or help teach your future children, because I did start learning Spanish before we had kids, before we got married, because I knew that one day we were going to have children, and I did want to be able to communicate with my children in English and in Spanish. I knew I wanted our children to be bilingual, obviously. And so I just knew that was something I wanted to do. I would recommend it to anyone who's even like contemplating, oh, like I think I may want to learn another language just for like whatever your reason is. If it's for your children, if it's just for you, just because you want to learn another language, do it. I would say it definitely helps keep your mind going, like, because then you start thinking in both languages, which is like really cool. Like, at first I was like, oh wow, this is like really weird, but I'm like, this is actually really cool. Like, I love it, because and you'll start to speak a little in both languages. Like, sometimes I'll catch myself speaking Spanglish to my mom, or to my sister, or you know, my friends, and then I'm like, oh, well, you don't know what I just said, so sorry, just ignore me. But it's really, really fun, and it helps like challenge your mind, and it's a really good thing. So I think anybody out there who is like contemplating whether or not they should learn a new language, just go for it, because it's a fun challenge. It's not going to be easy, not at all, but it's a fun challenge. Like it's so worth it. And especially if you like have a significant other who speaks another language, it's really cool, because then you can communicate with them in both languages, or however many languages that you both speak, which is also fun, just because it's like, I don't know, it's just different. A lot of people can't do it, and so it's just neat. Like, I know some people would be like, oh, well, aren't you afraid, like, when you go out in public, like, people are gonna, like, look at you funny or judge you? And, I mean, sometimes people do look at me funny. Like, when we go out with George's family, well, they'll all be speaking Spanish, and if I chime in, like, I've definitely had people look at me like, she speaks Spanish too? Like, what in the world? And I just stare right back at them, like, I don't care. I mean, when George and I first started dating, we were both in high school, and we would go to the movies, or we'd go out to a restaurant, you know, just do like, you know, go out on little dates, just trying to be a normal couple. And we would have old people like stare at us because he's Hispanic and I'm white. And I mean, we live in the South, so that kind of stuff is like not accepted down here by most people, I guess you could say. But like, I did not ever let that bother me, and neither did George. Like, we don't care what anybody else thinks. Like, it doesn't bother you. I'm not affecting you in any way, and if it does bother you, don't look. And guess what? This is America. It's a melting pot. When your ancestors came here, they were immigrants as well. So get over it, sweetie. Sorry, I like got on my soapbox for a minute. But I just wanted to share those like tips. If you are trying to raise your child to be bilingual, just start it from the very beginning. I know some people are like, well, isn't that confusing? Shouldn't you teach them one language and then teach them another? And it's like, no. That challenges their brain for them to be learning more than one language at a time. And it helps increase their intelligence. So do it from a very young age. And if you do it from a very young age as well, then they'll be more likely to understand both languages fully and understand both languages better. So it's really better for the child if you start them at a young age, like speaking English and Spanish, or speaking however many languages that you want your child to. And I'm almost finished. I'm gonna wrap up finishing washing these brushes, and then I'm gonna show you guys the finished product. Look how nasty this palette is getting. This thing is amazing. So let me finish washing the last couple of brushes I have. I'm almost done, which is really impressive, because my last video I had to do like a time lapse because it took so long. But I have 4 brushes left. Like, I'm almost done. So this palette is amazing. And so far I really like this brush cleaner. I think I like it better than the Ulta one. And at TJ Maxx it was like $3.99, I think. So it was cheaper than the Ulta one, because the Ulta one was like $2 or $3 for that tiny bottle, whereas this Ellen Tracy makeup brush cleaner is a big bottle, and it was like $3.99. The only bad thing is I don't know if I'll be able to find it at TJ Maxx every time I go, but I can always order it online. I mean, if it's a little more expensive, that's fine, because I really like it. I think it'd be, you know, worth it. Alright, so I am cleaning up my last makeup brush, and I cleaned all my eyeshadow brushes. So I cleaned all of the brushes that I have used since the last time, which I haven't cleaned my makeup brushes in probably like a week and a half, which I try to be better about it, but you know, sometimes that just doesn't happen. So, but all of my eyeshadow brushes definitely needed to be cleaned. And my face brushes really weren't that bad. I find my eyeshadow brushes, because my eyeshadow is so pigmented, it just holds that pigment. They all are looking very shiny and clean, and it's making my heart happy. So let me just show you guys real fast. Let me clean this cleansing palette real fast. Oh, Oh, I still need to clean my makeup sponge, but look how pretty, shiny, and clean it is after all of the cleaning it did, and it just washes all off. And then I just leave this. I'll leave it upside down, sitting on top of my makeup brushes for it to dry. Ooh, these are all my brushes, and they are super, super clean. And I'm gonna let them dry overnight, and then in the morning, they should all be clean, and I'll be able to use them to put on my makeup for my day tomorrow. As always, click the like button. If you're not subscribed, click subscribe, and then click the little bell so that you can get notified every time I upload a video. And I have my Facebook page linked down below. Go click the link and follow my page so that you can see all of my posts. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye. It really helps me to... Ooh. I spray a little too much.